What's up everyone? So in today's video we're going to be going ahead and installing the fuel injectors and the map sensor, and that's going to allow the truck at least to run with the new tune that's didn't go so well. If you guys saw the last video, you'll know we tried loading the full tune with the HP tuners after going through a bunch of nonsense with the Diablo's port, and we were able to load the ECM, engine control module. That one wrote no problem, but as soon as it got to the TCM, the transmission control module, it ended up doing the same thing Diablo's port. It got right to the very finish 100%, and then it wouldn't complete. So I'm not sure what's in the truck. I can't really start the truck. I guess I technically could, but without the different map sensor that's supposed to be in there and the bigger fuel injectors, it might run kind of funny. So rather than trying to start it and see what's going on with the transmission now, I'm going to go ahead and throw in the fuel injectors and that map sensor, and then we should be able to at least start it and see what the heck we got in there right now, since the transmission control module ended up essentially failing on the write process. So let me show you guys what we got. So we just finished with the laptop and that stuff is loaded, and this is the other stuff that we have. So here are the fuel injectors. There is the map sensor, the 3-bar, because the stock one only doesn't read boost. So because it's not a supercharged or a boosted vehicle, you have to swap that out. So that's what we're gonna do, and let me show you where we're at currently with everything. So we have the stock intake on there, and we're still gonna have to drain the coolant and do all that stuff, but take the stock intake off and take off the engine cover, and then we can get in there. But one of the steps they have you do is remove the fuse for the fuel pump and crank it over so that we reduce the fuel pressure. And let me show you guys that. So it shows you based on, and for those of you guys who don't know, 4th gen trucks are a little bit different. So 09 to 12 is one way, and 13 plus is almost, even though it looked physically the same, the engine, a lot of the connectors, a lot of stuff is actually different on 13 plus. Even the throttle bodies that I've been doing for you guys, that one, it's different on 13 plus. So connectors, everything are different. You can see the fuse boxes are totally different. So anyways, this is the fuel pump fuse for the 13 plus. Here's where it would be on the 09 to 12, totally different spots, but we're gonna go ahead and remove that fuse. So it says you're gonna disconnect the battery, remove the fuse, reconnect the battery, crank the engine to depress the fuel rails, and then we're gonna go ahead and disconnect the battery. So I think it might start, to be honest. It's gonna crank and probably run and stumble, and yeah, let's get that map sensor in there first, because if we end up starting it with the current map sensor in there, it's gonna have a conniption. So let's yank this stuff first. We'll change the map sensor, and then we'll pull the fuse and depressurize the fuel system, just to get going there. So let's do that first. So disconnect our sensor, and then just disconnect this band clamp here. I can just pull it off. So, because I already had this off, and it's not doesn't have the factory hardware anymore that usually would hold this in place. So this is going to easily come off for me. And now we can take the engine cover off. That's just the 2 quick snaps and pull it forward. So that's off. So the map sensor is way in the back here, and how we're going to remove it is we're going to remove the clip first. There's the clip. It doesn't have any locking tab on this one, or at least mine doesn't. Maybe it's supposed to, but doesn't. Just squeeze it, and then we can take the map sensor out. So the way the map sensor comes out is, you can probably see here, it has this kind of lock on it. You have to rotate it counterclockwise 90 degrees and then pull it straight out and pops out. So again, just to illustrate, we put it in here. Not sure how well you guys can see back here, but you put it in and you just rotate it. So when it's like this, you're gonna push it towards the front of the vehicle 90 degrees, and it's gonna pop straight out like that. All we have to do is transfer our O-ring to this one and put this back in, same thing, put it in 90 degrees, and we're rock and rolling. So there we are, O-ring is transferred. You do have to take off the actual map sensor from the little block that they give you to get everything in, because it won't rotate trying to just put it in by itself. But once we get that in here, you gotta kind of feel your way in through here, since you can't see. So we'll put this in, we'll turn it 90 degrees this way, And it should be locked in now. It does feel kind of loose, but I guess that's the way that they've designed it. Then we can go ahead and install our map sensor on there. Okay, with the map sensor in there, we can go ahead and install our connector. Okay, so we're going to disconnect the battery now, just so we can pull that fuse as per their request. In the ProCharger kit instructions, so we'll remove this. It says to take this off and disconnect the battery, and then go in here. We're gonna pull our fuel pump fuse, hopefully. Where is this little tool thing? This little micro fuse. Okay, so fuel pump fuse is out. And now it's telling us to go crank it. Once we put the battery back on, not sure how this is gonna work, but hopefully she doesn't get too angry with us. I don't know if it's just gonna die or what's gonna happen, but I'll find out in a second here. Oh, I guess I didn't put the power lead on properly. Let's push this down a little better. Okay, we got lights in action. Let's see what happens. That didn't do too much. But those other injectors is probably not going to be too happy with us, but it sounds like it's got a cam in it. Okay. I'd have to say that we're good to go. She's not firing for us. So we'll take off the negative lead. And hopefully the system doesn't have a bunch of fuel pressure in it. It's kind of the plan. So let's go ahead and we'll remove the fuel rails next. Next we'll remove the injector clips. They're gonna have this red locking tab. So you're gonna lift the locking tab, and then once you do that, these locking tabs are on here pretty darn good, but you're gonna have to use something like this, like a flat screwdriver, to lift that locking tab and then squeeze it, pop it off like so. So get these all off, and then we can move to the next step. Once you unscrew that 13mm post, you're actually gonna need a 4mm socket to get the stud off, because the stud is remaining. So you can unscrew this stud, because it's actually a stud that's holding the rail on underneath that 13mm. So we're gonna get the stud out, and there's probably gonna be some fuel pressure, I'm gonna assume. So I'm gonna grab a rag and dislodge the fuel rail, and just be careful of any gas that's gonna spray or leak out of there. So we have the rail out with the injectors out. There's actually a little circlip on the back, if you guys can see this, that holds the injector in. So you're gonna have to pop off the circlip. So there's a little clip that you're gonna pull off. So they just slide off, and then just be ready for any fuel pressure that's gonna probably come out. These things have been in here for 100,000 miles, so they're definitely in here. Actually, it wasn't too bad, but the O-ring did get stuck in there. So like I was saying, they've been stuck in there for a while. So I'll put this O-ring back on here where it's supposed to be, and we can take out all the rest of the injectors as well. So same thing, take off the clip and then wiggle the injector out. So with the fuel injectors out and the fuel rail out, we can go ahead and put in our new fuel injectors. And I'll let you guys decide which lube you guys want to use on the O-rings. There's a lot of controversy. Some people use specific O-ring lubricant. Some people use petroleum jelly. I'll let you guys decide what you guys want to use on them. But I'm going to go ahead and install these using my preferred method. I'm not going to tell you because it usually just starts a war because everybody wants to use something different. But anyways, I'm going to get these fired in there, and then we'll put it in. There's also some spacers that space this out. It looks like I'm missing a bit of hardware, so I'm going to have to improvise a little bit, because the spacers that go here in here, they lift up the fuel rail, because these injectors are actually a little bit longer. if you can see where the sealing surface is. So you see where the O-ring is. They're about a 1/4 inch longer, so the rail is going to have to sit a little bit higher. And yeah, so we're going to go ahead and install those spacers. They're billet aluminum spacers that go between, and then you need longer bolts. But like I said, for some reason I'm missing those bolts and that hardware, so I'm going to have to improvise just so we can get by. But let's go ahead, fire these in, and then we'll get the rail on. Okay, so fuel injectors are in. Don't forget those factory clips that hold the injector in, so you got to reinstall those. And then you have these spacers, like I was mentioning, that are going to sit between the rail and the intake manifold to space it out for the longer injector. So let's go ahead and get these in here. So once you have the injectors and rail seated, you can go ahead and insert your spacers, and they're pretty much just going to slide in here the same in the same distance that the rail is already fully seated, since the injectors are bottomed out. Then you're going to go ahead and put in your bolts, and like I said, I'm going to improvise at the moment because I'm missing some hardware, but this is not a big deal. We can always upgrade it later. So we'll get those installed, and then we'll move on to the other side. Okay, so disconnect the fuel line. The fuel line has kind of a weird clip on it. It has a little latch where you have to pick the latch up and then you push it the other way through. It's that red clip that you can see up there on the fuel line, but like I said, it's kind of a latch. You lift it open and then you just pull it out through the bottom, and that comes off. Then we have the 2 10mm bolts, which we'll take off, and then same thing as the other thing. Take the clips off, take the rail out, and we'll go from there. These clips are actually pretty cool. You put them on and you just push the injector in until it clicks in. And I was doing it before where I was putting the injector in first and then putting the clip on after, but if you just do this, you push them in, it seats until you hear the click, like that, and you're done. So pretty cool. Alright, let's finish up. Okay, so that's going to do it for today's video, guys. The fuel injector's map sensor is installed. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you on the next video. Take care.